G'day, g'day. So you've all seen the clip of a certain four-time F1 champion slagging off front-wheel drive, saying they're boring and anti-driving and hopeless. And with respect to one of the greatest drivers there's ever been, he's completely wrong because front-wheel drive can be great. In a way, he's right. Like, don't get me wrong. If I was at a track or on a road and it was lined up an awesome rear-wheel drive, an awesome all-wheel drive, and an awesome front-wheel drive, I'd probably take them in that order. However, a properly set up front-wheel drive can still be an absolutely awesome performance car. So today I'm going to run you through the top 10 front-wheel drives I've ever driven. Now that's important because there are some front-wheel drives I haven't driven, some important ones: 205 GDI, DC2 Integra Type R, 106 Rally, Mark 1 Focus RS. I haven't driven these cars, so it's not a comprehensive list, but I also have driven a lot of very good ones. So this is my list. Got my notes here. Now I'm going to cheat a bit because I'm going to do some honourable mentions. My first honourable mention is the Ford Focus Mark II RS. Looked great, sounded great, awesome engine, really fun car to drive. You could make a case for it being on the list, but had a too high driving position, interior is pretty rubbish, it torque steered like mad on the road, even in fourth gear. So I think that if we're dealing with ultimate driving thrills, other cars on this list have surpassed it. There are other cars I'd rather drive, even though that is a very cool car. Next up, we've got the Kia Proceed GT. A humble car, maybe a car that not many people think about, but it was really, really good, especially for about 30 grand. It really put Kia on the performance car map before Stinger GTs and stuff like that. It's, it wasn't amazing, but compared to its rivals, it absolutely blew them away. I did a comparison test at the time against, Mazda 3 SP25, whatever the sporty accent one, the sporty cruise, that sort of warm hatch genre. And the Proceed just blew them away. It had awesome grip, had a decent engine, good 6-speed gearbox, rode well, had plenty of space in it. It was a really good little car. Suzuki Swift Sport. Again, in terms of ultimate driving thrills, maybe not quite up there. You've never been able to turn the ESP all the way off, for instance. The current one maybe struggles a little bit with traction being turbo. But for the money, doesn't matter what generation you choose, they're great fun, especially as road cars. They're really light, they're reliable, they're easy on consumables like tyres and brakes and stuff like that. They're kind of like a front-wheel drive MX-5 in that you can drive them super hard all the time and they just love it. There's nothing really that goes wrong with them. Finally, VW Sirocco. I'll wedge this one in as well. On the launch of this car, I loved it. Compared to the Golf at the time, which was a Mark 6 GDI and a Mark 6R, the Sirocco was much better. It had the older, more aggressive engine in it, lots of power, felt way more adjustable than a Golf R. Had much better handling, but it had much more performance than a GDI. So I thought they'd sell a lot of them. They didn't, but that was also a car to look out for. Now, to the top 10. In 10th place, we have a Skoda Octavia RS230, specifically an estate. I had a long-term on one of these and I absolutely loved it. I always tried to make my long-termers rear-wheel drive because, look at the channel name. But, so with this I was like, oh yeah, fine, okay, yeah, I'll run this, this will be good. It was an awesome car. It's in 10th because, again, in terms of pure driving thrills, couldn't turn off ESP, couldn't turn off traction control, had a definite ceiling on its abilities. The suspension was quite soft. It was still a fun car to drive, good engine, great gearbox, handled well, was actually surprisingly good on track to a certain limit, brakes held up well, it was fun. ESP mainly left you alone, but on the road it was fantastic. Great ride quality, super practical, light and easy gear shift. Apparently they only brought 70 into the country, and that's a shame because they're hard to come by now. I think last time I looked, there was only one on car sales. But fantastic. Again, I did a comparo with the Subaru Levorg at the time. It was one of the most one-sided comparos I've ever done. The Skoda just flogged it in every single aspect, basically. Practicality and performance. Fantastic car. Next up, Peugeot RCZ-R, another car that is pretty rare and probably not a lot of people think about. The base RCZ was fun. It was pretty quick, felt light, felt zippy. It was a cool car to drive. I think it still looks great. But the RCZ-R was a real surprise packer. We took it along to Performance Car of the Year at Motor in 2014. It ended up coming 4th. And we almost didn't take it because we're like, who cares? But it was great. 199 kilowatts from 1.6 litres. These days it's a bit more common maybe with the GR Yaris and Corolla, but back then that was almost unheard of. But super strong engine. It felt really light and agile. There were some ergonomic problems with it, which is why it's in 9th. The driving position was a bit weird, super long arms, super short legs. Brake pedal was a bit soft, steering could be a bit light, but whether on the road or winter, it had heaps of grip, massive brakes, really fast. Cool car. And also rare today. I think I've seen one in the 10 years since I drove it. So there we go. 8th place, Volkswagen Golf GTI 40 years, which is what it was called here. GTI Club Sport, it was overseas, I think. Not the Club Sport S. We didn't get the Club Sport S here, which was like 2-seater cup tyres, I think. It was a Nürburgring lap record holder for a while. This was the base Club Sport, 40 years here. The anniversary Golf GTIs have always been a bit more aggressive. I remember the 35 years was also a fun car, the Mark 6. That was a sensible GTI. It was a sensible car. But the 35 years got the older engine, which had a bit more aggro, had more power. And then this 40 years, while it was still the same recipe as a basic Golf, I think a proper diff, revised suspension, more power. Again, the engine felt really aggro. It didn't diminish the Golf GTI's strengths that much. It was still a very comfortable road car, but felt a lot more serious in terms of its performance, in terms of its grip, its traction. Really good car. I only drove the DSG. The manual was probably even better. There was only 100 of those that came in. They all got snapped up. I didn't do a press car, I don't think. But even the DSG was awesome. Fantastic car. In 7th, we have the Renault Clio 3 RS200. Now, the Clio 3 RS got off to a shaky start, I think. I never drove one, but I remember the 197 came out. Didn't have much more power than the 182 that everyone loved. It was quite a bit heavier, bigger car. But then they came out with the RS200, did a few tweaks, and again, I haven't driven one in 12 years, 13 years, but I love that car. I drove a regular one and also a special Angel and Demons, which was like a matte pink one. It was flawed, high driving position, weird driving position. Wheel was tilted away from you. The gearing was crazy. It was so short. It was like a hyperactive car, but it was fantastic. You just wanted to drive everywhere like your Jean Ragnotti, doing handbrake turns, and engine that revved to almost 8,000. Again, super short gearing, great brakes. You could drive the absolute wheels off it and it would just lap it up. It loved it. And you wanted to drive it like that everywhere. So again, fantastic car, but flawed enough that it has to be down in 7th. 6th, we have the Hyundai i20N. Another car like the Renault, you can just drive the absolute wheels off it. It's a fantastic car, road and track, everywhere except under the bonnet. That's partly because it's got great brakes, great traction, great handling, plenty of tire grip, etc., etc. It just needs more grunt. It could easily do with another 20, 30 kilowatts. I suspect a remap would help it. I'd love to see one with the 2-litre from the i30N in it because it would be a wild package. Just the only reason it's this far down, because there's heaps of good cars ahead of it, and you drive it, you just want a little bit more grunt, but I've been lucky to drive it heaps on road and track, and it's always fantastic. Always puts a big smile on your face. So fantastic car. The only issue with the latest one is it's got the ADAS stuff that you have to turn off every time. So if possible, I'd buy a pre-facelift, but either way, great car. Next up, Mini Cooper JCW GP. I was lucky to drive the 2nd gen GP, I think it was, and super compromised car. Unbelievably noisy, firm ride, tyres didn't work in the cold, let alone the wet. 2-seater. don't think it had like aircon and stuff like that. But when you got everything working, tyres up to temp, warm, dry road, it was unbelievable. So light, great traction, semi-slick tyres, pop, 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 bang on the override and everything like that. Still adjustable chassis, still had all the mininess in it. You could chuck it around even though it had heaps of grip. Again, monster brakes, in case I didn't mention that. It had to work hard occasionally, it would chase cambers, but one of those cars that in its right environment delivers an experience that not many cars could match. It was a very special car. Next up, we have Ford Fiesta ST in fourth. Either one. I haven't driven an XR4. I'd love to drive an XR4, which was called a Fiesta ST in the UK. We didn't get that one as an ST here. Our first Fiesta ST was the WZ. I can't remember. 2013 one. Phenomenal. The fact you could get one of those for under 30 grand drive away, it's criminal we didn't all buy one. I know lots of people did. Wasn't perfect, but it could take a few little tweaks, stick some brake pads, maybe some tyres, a slight remap on it, and you had an even better car. But even stock, it was great. It was super playful. Had a few of the Focus RS issues in the driving position wasn't quite right. The interior was quite cheap, but it was a third the price. And it was just as much fun to drive because unbelievably oversteery, not super fast, but a really keen engine, great gearbox. Love the Recaros, even though they were a bit squishy. Fantastic car. The one that replaced it, I don't know what it was called, the latest gen Fiesta, was even better. Rode a bit better, had more grip, proper diff in it, even better engine. The brakes were the weak point, needed better brakes, easily fixed. But the only reason I'd maybe lean towards the previous one is you hear lots of horror stories about that 1.5 3-cylinder, the wet built issues. I don't know if it's just a fact that you got to maintain it more oil changes, etc. But there are a few dodgy rumours about that engine, or a few dodgy experiences. But as a car, it was just awesome. And I'd put it just ahead of the i20N just because it's got a stronger engine, a bit more fun. In third place, Hyundai i30N. Now this was a super important car for Hyundai. Vaulted them into the big leagues with a proper hatch that could take on anything. I had a long-termer for 6 months, drove the hell out of it. Again, I'd usually try and get rear drive long-termers, but fantastic car. Did all the practical everyday stuff, daily driver stuff, no problems. Comfortable, but I drove it everywhere as hard as I could. Heaps of road trips. Did a hill climb in it, and it won. Everyone sneered at Hyundai, blah, 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 blah. It's just 2018 when the N brand hadn't taken hold yet. But it soon shut some people up when it won the event. I did a Twilight Rally sprint in it. I did a couple of track days in it. All in the same car. Brakes held up. Went through some tyres, but just a fantastic car. It wasn't perfect. Liked a bit of top-end grunt. Gearbox could be a bit sticky, especially going to 5th and 6th. Then the facelift came, and it just took it to a whole other level. It's such a cliche, but it really did. The engine overhaul didn't give it much more power and torque, but it felt so much stronger and more aggressive. You got the dual clutch gearbox, which is, I think, up there with Porsche's as one of the best DCTs. They did a chassis overhaul that made it even better to drive. DCT is great. Manual was even better. Great car. Love it to bits. Let's see. In second, we have the Renault Megane RS. Second gen. Doesn't matter really. RS 250 to 275. They were all really, really good. I think the sweet spot's maybe a 265 Cup or a 275 Trophy. They're really cheap at the moment. They don't cost a lot of money. And they offer so much performance. They're exactly what you want a hot hatch to be. Again, not perfect. Some road noise. The ride can be quite firm. But performance on road and track, they're just brilliant. Great brakes. Even the engine, it's really strong and it's got that sort of whoosh noise, but suits the character. RS275 Trophy R, drove that. Amazing. Again, a bit like the Mini. Amazing in its window. on a dry road or track. Again, felt so light, had unbelievable grip from the semi-slick tyres. Great engine that sounded really cool, pops and bangs. Just that I think that in this instance, a well set up 265 or 275, maybe with some tyres on it, gets you at least 95% of the experience without any of the compromises of having no rear seats. And I think basically all the customer cars had aircon and a radio, but the press car didn't. It could be a bit of a slog on a long journey. And a base 265 Cup was 44 grand. When everything now, hot hatch wise, is 55, 60, 70 grand more. We had it really good about 10 years ago. All right. In first place, drum roll. You might be able to pick what's coming here just by process of elimination. Honda Civic Type R, but not the FL5, not the latest one. I need to drive it again. I haven't driven it in a while, but I did drive it quite a lot. And in the perfect window, like some of the other cars here, the Mini and the Trophy Megans, it probably is the best front-wheel drive I've ever driven. It is just unbelievable. The grip and the traction and the pace and the involvement. It is brilliant. I haven't driven it. I've driven it on a dry track. I haven't driven it on a smooth track. I'd love to drive it somewhere like Phillip Island or the Bend because I think it would be just magnificent. But the reason it's not number one is I've driven it in the wet and on bumpy roads, and it's pretty terrible. It can't put its power down. R plus mode now is way too stiff. I had to drive it in comfort for memory at Sandown because it felt like it was going to bounce off the track. I had it in R plus and it just couldn't take the bumps. It just would not settle. It was actually a bit scary. So the number one goes to the FK8, and a lot of people can't hack it. They won't consider that car because of the way it looks, and I get it. I'd have it in black too, but as a driving experience, it set a new benchmark when it came out. We all thought it was really expensive at 51 grand or whatever it was. Now it looks like a bargain. Interior wasn't amazing, but great seats. But as a driving experience, at One Motor Performance Car of the Year 2018 or 19, 18. And maybe that was a slightly soft year, but equally it won on merit. Every time, I remember the first day we drove all the cars on the road and everyone sort of looked at each other and went, the Civic's the best car here. Like, it's the ride quality, even on 20s, and the grip it had and the poise. It wasn't super adjustable, like it wasn't super playful like a Fiesta ST maybe, or even a Mini or something like that, but it's got that, you're involved in the art of driving. You don't care that it's not really moving around, even though it will move around if you give it a big flick. You don't really care because it's got such precision and poise and it's doing exactly what you want it to. Great gear shift, super strong engine. You know, we're talking 5.6, 5.7 to 100. It's really fast. Great brakes, fantastic traction. As a driving experience, it is the best front-wheel drive driving experience I've ever had. So that's why it's number one. Let me know if you made it this far. Let me know what you think of the list. Cars I should drive, should put on my bucket list, and what your top 10 front-wheel drives are in the comments below. Thanks for watching and see you next time.